The Amazon, arguably the longest river on Earth and with the greatest water flow. With its two source rivers, the Marañón and Ucayali, it more or less divides the northern half of South America. It is situated approximately 300 kilometers south of the equator. Flanked by the Andes in the west, it crosses the Amazon basin, characterized by its tropical rainforest, moving eastwards until it reaches the Atlantic. The Amazon jungle provides a habitat for countless animal and plant species. The 7 million square meter Amazon basin is the largest continuous landscape, making it the second largest continuous forest on the planet. That is equivalent to around 5% of the Earth's total land surface. Provides a home for around a third of all our planet's animal and plant species. Mysterious, breathtaking, hot and wet, a green hell, and with the world's treasure trove, unreal, alive, impressive and colorful. A symbiosis of the most diverse animal and plant species. In the Amazon basin, you will find numerous different reptiles, as well as all types and species of birds. While the Ara macaw, for example, can be recognized from afar because of its colorful feathers, other jungle dwellers, like this tree snake, adapt perfectly to their surroundings, thus making themselves particularly invisible to their enemies. The boa constrictor is one of the largest predators amongst the reptiles. It uses its camouflage color to creep up on its prey unobserved. The Amazon, at 6,850 kilometers in length, is arguably the longest river on Earth and has the most tremendous water flow. It irrigates a total of 5.5 million square kilometers, 3.9 million of which are in Brazil. Its enormous size and water flow are due to its more than 10,000 tributaries. 17 of these are themselves over 1,600 kilometers long. They supply the Amazon with practically double the amount of water from both hemispheres from their respective summer rainfalls. When the rainy season arrives and the water masses flood a fifth of the Amazon basin, the alligators have their heyday. At places where the cheetahs usually hunt their prey, caimans, like the Yakari caiman or the broad-snouted caiman, cruise up and down, searching for food. Caimans are usually loners. Only when the flood recedes and the habitat for the fish is limited do they go hunting in large groups. They are nocturnal and feed on fish and other aquatic animals, or animals that sometimes come to the water. For example, capybara rodents, waterfowl, and snakes. These reptiles also feed on weaker, old and sick animals, thus aiding the natural selection process. The 4.2 million square kilometer large rainforest is home to hundreds of thousands of species of plants, animals, fungi, microbes, and bacteria. A clump of trees in the forest or an arm of the river on the plain can contain more species in the Amazon basin than whole continents elsewhere. In some parts, more types of trees grow on 1 hectare than in the whole of Europe. However, hardly any large mammals exist in this habitat. This red-footed tortoise has evidently been disturbed while resting in the sun. A group of yellow-footed tortoises crosses our path. This 60 to 70 centimeter large tortoise is easily recognizable because of the yellow scales on its legs. In their natural habitat, the yellow-footed tortoises have a wide spectrum of food available. Grasses, leaves, and tropical fruits are their main source of food. In addition, they also feed on snails, worms, and insects. They love high temperatures and humidity. That is why the tropical conditions of the rainforest are ideal for the yellow-footed tortoise. Although they are not particularly fast, they are lively and romp over a large territory. A white-tailed trogon is on the lookout for prey. These birds wait for their quarry, perching in an exposed position until an insect flies past. They also like to feed on berries or ripe fruits. In addition to the yellow-colored breast, the black and white-colored tails are characteristic of the white-tailed trogon. They are loners and only seek contact with other birds during the mating season. These splendid cocks are Watseen or Canche pheasants, also known as stink birds due to the strong smell that they emit, similar to cow dung. This is probably a result of a unique characteristic of the Watseen, its digestive tract. It is very voluminous, constituting up to a quarter of its weight, and is situated in its crop and lower gullet. This makes it very similar to ruminants of the mammal species. Despite its large wings, the Watseen is only capable of very short flights, as its flight muscles are very limited. Since they only feed on plants, special flying skills are not necessary anyway. However, since most of the plants in the rainforest are poisonous, they require a special form of nutrition intake or digestive mechanisms, and the Watseen has therefore developed these in a specific way. The Ara macaws have also adapted to the very demanding challenges that are required in the rainforest. Aras also feed solely on vegetation. They prefer different fruits, nuts, and berries. Since they are not able to pass the toxic substances in the plants and fruits through a special digestive tract, Aras can be observed regularly ingesting clay. This adds the intake of minerals in order to neutralize the plant toxins. In the Amazon basin, all 8 different types of Ara macaws and other parrot species can be found. These Aras typically have characteristic colored faces. They also have very strong claws and a powerful beak. They are well equipped to climb and grasp, which is particularly practical when it comes to cracking the sometimes very hard shells of all sorts of palm fruits. Aras, which like to live in pairs, usually rear their young in cavity nests found in broken-off palm trunks or hollows. Hatching time is between December and March, and often from a nest of up to 4 eggs, only one will be successfully reared. With a body length of up to 90 centimeters, green-winged macaws are among the largest species of parrot. Along with their mainly red plumage, the strong, ivory-colored upper mandible is characteristic of the green-winged macaw. Together with ravens and woodpeckers, parrots are among the most highly intelligent birds. The South American ara is said to have a particular talent for mimicking speech. The Amazonian parrots, with their 31 current species, are the largest genus of parrot. However, 16 species are endangered. Amazonian parrots, with their body length of 25 to 45 centimeters, are much smaller than the aras. Their plumage, which consists of wide, rounded feathers, is predominantly green-colored. Our journey through the mysterious water world of the Amazon basin continues. Here, we see a great white egret hunting its prey in the shallow waters at the riverbank. It stalks through the water and attacks with its dagger-like beak with lightning speed. It thereby spears its prey, which may consist of fish, amphibians, and even waterfowl and small mammals. Egrets, or herons, can be found all over the world. South and Central America are home to 20 different species. For example, the little blue heron and the tricolored heron. a large flock of Amazonian parrots. They are on their way to so-called clay lakes. These are places on steep riverbanks where there are uncovered areas of clay. The minerals that the birds can ingest with the clay are necessary in order to neutralize the plant toxins that the parrots consume with their food. Since the huge amount of water washes virtually all the minerals out of the soil, the plants in the jungle protect the small amounts they assimilate, for example, by producing toxins. In this way, they can, for the most part, safeguard their existence. Amazonian parrots are very social animals. They can invariably be observed in pairs, but also like to band together in somewhat loosely structured small groups or flocks. It is typical of the Amazonian parrots that live in flocks to fly in large groups to the feeding areas, and often to make their nests very close together. Let's watch the lively activity of the Amazonian parrots for a while and enjoy the vividness of nature. On our way through the ever denser jungle, we come across this yellow-spotted Amazon river turtle. It is easy to recognize because of the yellow spots on its head. It is happiest in fresh water, and although it lives chiefly off vegetation, snails, insects, and small fish are also on the menu for this turtle, which reaches a maximum size of just 45 centimeters. In the rainy season, when a good fifth of the rainforest is flooded, often only the treetops can be seen rising out of the water. But both plants and animals have adapted to these extreme changes in conditions. These cormorants use the flood period to feed off the abundance of fish that the Amazon has to offer at this time. We penetrate deeper into this green hell. The rainforest got this frightening name because of its scorching heat, its high humidity, and its enormous number of poisonous snakes, insects, and parasites. This anaconda demands respect for its size alone. The boa snake can grow to between 4 and 6 meters long and is active both on land and in the water. It can move considerably faster in the water than on land. It kills its prey by attacking it with one bite and then dragging it into the water to strangle it. It then swallows its prey whole. The boa constrictor, like the anaconda, belongs to the boa or boidae family. The Indians in particular revere this snake as a messenger of the gods. It is active at twilight and at night and eats everything that it can master, size-wise. It even eats small caimans. When they are fully grown, boas have virtually no natural enemies. However, big cats or caimans like to hunt the young snakes. In addition to an impressive assortment of reptiles, the Amazon rainforest provides an incredible abundance of special birds, some of which we have already seen. This is a mealy Amazon. It is a type of parrot belonging to the neotropical or RNA parrots. It prefers the dense tropical forests of the lowlands and nests in tree cavities. The long-billed hermit, a type of hummingbird, is attracted by red flowers, for example, those of the heliconia. It carries out the pollination of these plants by using its long beak to drink from the calyx and then transporting the pollen to the next flower. A rufescent tiger heron is hiding here. It goes on the hunt mainly at night and at twilight for fish, grasshoppers, water beetles, and snakes. The 10-centimeter long beak of the 70-centimeter large heron is relatively long. Although it prefers to hunt alone, it is known to be otherwise sociable and nests by the water's edge in fairly large colonies. The intense colors of the feathers are not yet so pronounced in the young rufescent tiger herons. Its plumage has more of a marbled pattern. With tropical birds, hanging nests are fairly common. Presumably, they were developed as protection from tree-climbing predators like snakes and lizards. The oropendulas of Central and Southern America have some of the most impressive hanging nests. A crested oropendula, for example, hatches its eggs in colonies where up to 100 nests dangle from one tree. Each nest is in the shape of a 1-meter-long bottle, made of plant fibers tightly woven onto the twigs of the tree. This cacique, a form of starling, is just extending its nest. The nests are used for several years and are constantly enlarged and repaired. They are woven with all sorts of different materials like palm fibers, strips of bark, root, and coconut fibers. After the construction, which is mainly carried out by the females, 1 or 2 eggs are hatched out in the nest. The exposed and solid nest construction is inviting for other birds, so other starlings like to make use of the nests parasitically. Starlings are so-called passerines and can only be found in the New World. Depending on the type, starlings can be 18 to 45 centimeters in size, with the females being smaller than the males. In the Amazon rainforest, up to 3 meters of rain can fall per year. That is 4 times as much as in Central Europe. In addition to the often intense rainfalls which can last for several weeks, there is the scorching tropical sun. That is why life explodes in the Amazon basin. The development of species happens much faster here than anywhere else in the world. The challenges of the rainforest generate new species which develop in special ways. Many of these species have not yet been documented. The so-called ugliest tributaries of the Amazon, namely those waters that are cloudy with clay, are called whitewater rivers and are life-giving for the region. They transport deposits, so-called sediments, which they have washed out of the Andes and many other regions through which they flow. During the numerous floods, they deposit these sediments in the soil, thus fertilizing many square kilometers of land around their banks. And then, when the water recedes, the bank dwellers come and grow their plants there. There are also more fish in these rivers. One of the most important whitewater rivers in the Amazon basin is the Rio Solimões, which converges with the Blackwater River Rio Negro at Manaus to flow into the mighty Amazon. The Rio Negro gets its name from the color of its water, which is indeed black, due to the high content of humic and fulvic acid. Blackwater rivers transport hardly any sediment, are low in nutrients, and are very clear. When the two rivers meet at Manaus, they flow for several kilometers in parallel because of their different densities, temperature, and speed, until they finally flow into one another. This phenomenon, known as Encontro das Aguas, is a popular sightseeing destination and attracts very many tourists annually. The trees of the rainforest stand on the bare quartz of ancient soils. In complete contrast to the trees of other forests on our planet, which grow on young, nutrient-rich soil that was created through the ice ages, the soil of the rainforest merely serves to give it some physical stability. In this case, so-called mycorrhiza fungal cultures provide the trees with the necessary nutrients. A fantastic symbiosis of nature. Around 80% of the biomass is produced in the tree canopy, which is why the majority of flora and fauna in the rainforest exist at the tops of the trees. Only a few of them ever come down to the earth. Leaves, twigs, and animal remains that fall on the ground are immediately drawn back into the nutrient cycle via the thick mass of tree roots that traverse the surface. The first impression of unlimited growth potential that you might gain on your first visit to the tropical rainforest, where everywhere is lush and green due to its plentiful supply of water, is deceptive, because you only see the surface. Compared to the ground in European forest areas, that of the rainforest could be described as infertile. This soil has been subject to a damp, humid climate for thousands of years, which means that the rock beneath the earth in some regions has disintegrated to a depth of 50 meters. Minerals that are important to feed the plants and trees, for example calcium, phosphorus, and nitrogen, have therefore sunk deeper into the earth, so there is an extreme lack of nutrients at the upper level. Consequently, there is only a supply of nutrients through organic substances on the Earth's surface, consisting of plants and animals that have recently died, and which decompose quickly because of the climate. Because of the dense web of tree roots, they can hardly seep into the earth. Some of them are absorbed above the ground by epiphytic plants. At the Amazon, there is a constant extreme alternation between dry periods and floods. In the rainy season, and when the melted snow and ice come down from the Andes, the Amazon basin is regularly flooded. This means that huge areas that were just dry land are transformed into an underwater world in a very brief space of time. This permanent separation and changing of habitats by the floods that sometimes last for months means that new habitats are constantly being formed, and thus new animal and plant species. Some species cannot cope with the extreme conditions and die out, while others quickly adapt to the new situation, develop special characteristics, and survive. In this way, an incredible variety of species is created that is unique on Earth and still has not been documented in its entirety to this day. The constant challenges that animals and plants have to face can be illustrated by the example of the leafcutter ants. These ants break down almost 1/5 of the entire leaf mass in the rainforest, thus maintaining the circulation of minerals. They shred the mostly toxic leaves with their jaws, carry them to their nest, and chew them up into a pulp. This, then, serves as a breeding ground for fungi. The fungi develop nutrient-rich, non-toxic tubers, which again provide food for the ants and other animals. A natural product for which the Amazon region has become famous is caoutchouc, or natural rubber, obtained from the rubber tree. The indigenous peoples of the Amazon basin were already using natural rubber in a variety of ways in pre-Columbian times. The most well-known of these is the Mesoamerican ball game from that time, played with a solid rubber ball. Because of its water-resistant characteristics, fabric was also coated with rubber. But natural rubber melts at great heat and becomes brittle when cold. It was only after Charles Goodyear invented the process of vulcanization in 1839 that it was possible to turn caoutchouc into rubber as we know it today. This started a rubber boom in the Amazon basin. While Brazil was the market leader for natural rubber in 1910, today, with an annual production of only around 100,000 tons out of 7.6 million tons worldwide total volume, it is one of the lowest producers. In the meantime, Thailand is the main supplier, meeting around half of the world's needs. But the huge rainforest is not just about flora and fauna. Approximately 1 million people from 150 different indigenous tribes live in harmony with this tropical nature. In the Amazon jungle, there are even some of the last peoples that have still never had contact with a globalized world. Other important population groups are the traditional riverbank dwellers, the so-called ribeirinhos. Some of them came to the region during the rubber boom and lived from rubber tapping. Later, settlers came as well, who had come because of state settlement programs in order to develop the region, and who were allotted parcels of land for farming. Serious tensions arose between the farmers and the cattle breeders on the one side, who endangered the rubber tree forests with their large-scale wood clearing, and the Serengero rubber tappers on the other, who relied on these forests for their existence. Certainly one of the most beautiful tropical plants is the heliconia, often known as the parrot plant because of its splendid flowers that resemble a beak. As you can see from this heliconia rostrata, the actual flowers rise from the center of the bright red boat-shaped bract and are pollinated by hummingbirds, large butterflies, and even bats. There are up to 200 different types of heliconia. What all these evergreen ginger-like plants have in common is that they flower on alternate sides of the stem in rows of two. In this species, the Heliconia wagneriana, the flower petals stand upright and can grow up to 21 centimeters tall. Heliconias love tropical heat and lots of light and moisture, but are not so keen on direct sunlight. The shape of this bromeliad bears a striking resemblance to a pineapple, and that is no wonder, as the pineapple is the most well-known species of bromeliad. They can be both terrestrial, that is, growing on the ground, and epiphytic, that is, growing on other trees or plants. Lianas are climbers that grow out of the earth. Since they need a lot of light, they use neighboring trees and plants as a ladder and climb up them. This saves precious energy. Among other things, curare can be obtained from the bark and leaves of the liana. Used in a high concentration, curare can be a deadly poison and is used by the indigenous Indians as a means of anesthetic when hunting. The plants of the Amazon jungle have been particularly inventive when it comes to storing the small quantities of minerals that the earth provides, protecting them from enemies who might steal them, and even not using them much at all in large amounts. For example, this tree has developed very long, hard thorns, thus signaling, "Keep your distance and don't dare to touch me." Here, we see a bromeliad again, growing on another plant, epiphytic. However, epiphytes are not parasites. They do not feed off their host plant, but just use them as a base. The advantage of this is that they are nearer to the light, something that is often lacking in the lower levels of the rainforest. The unique correlation between animals and plants that can be found in huge abundance in the Amazon basin is, however, greatly endangered due to the mainly illegal deforestation and slash and burn clearance of the rainforest. Large areas of the forest have been destroyed in order to get at relatively small amounts of mineral resources like oil or gold, or other resources like caoutchouc or tropical wood. The ruined land can scarcely even be used as pasture because of its infertile soil. With recognition of the changes in world climate and global warming has come a shift in thinking, and there has been a slight decline in deforestation of the rainforest in the past few years. But with an annual clearance of 2.3 million hectares, the destruction of the wonderful flora and fauna of the Amazon is still extreme. It will take a continuing huge amount of effort to maintain this unique system, which is so vital for the functioning of our world climate.